Hey guys, today we're going to start making our cupcake coil pots using real clay. You're going to start with a slab of clay that I have pre-cut for you. Everybody has 1 pound of clay, and we are going to be making our coil pot bottom first. So you're going to start by taking this and setting it aside. You're going to rip off a small piece. I want mine a little smaller than that, and you're going to roll it into a ball. You don't want this ball to be too big. In fact, let's see if that's about the right size. So this is about the right size. You want it to be a little smaller than the actual base itself. And then you are going to shove it down to where it's about that thin. If it's too big, try again, tear off a little bit, roll it into a ball, and you want that ball to be really circular. If it's not circular, when you shove it down, it's going to be more of an oval shape. So if you get that into a nice circle and then shove it down on your palm, that's about the shape I want, okay? And about the size that I want. You don't want to shove it down on the table because it's going to stick to the table, and when you try to peel it off, it's going to not come up and it's going to tear. So you want to shove it on your palm and then lightly set it on the table. Now I'm ready to start my coils. I don't want to start with the whole chunk of clay when I do my coil, and the reason for that is it would be longer than this whole table, and you're sharing the table with your friends. So I'm going to tear off just a small little chunk here, and again I'm going to start with a nice little circle or oval, and I'm going to start rolling that into a nice smooth coil. You want your coil to be about the width of your pinky finger, and it can be as long as you need it to be from this piece here until it has the right width. Okay, so I think that's about as great as it's going to get with my coil pot. I'm going to take one of my tools. You have knives that you can use for your slip and scoring. You have popsicle sticks, and you could even use your pencil as long as you're careful not to go all the way through your clay. And slipping and scoring is when you make those tiny little marks on both your base and your coil. So I'm going to make tiny little marks all along the side of my base, and I'm going to make those tiny little marks all along my coil. Okay, now you might be wondering what the water is for. We don't want to use a whole lot of water ever in this process, but we do have to slip it. Slip it is the second part of slipping and scoring. So I'm going to just take one finger, and I'm going to run that one wet finger along my scoring and along the scoring on my coil. And this just helps get a nice grip when we put this coil on our base. Okay, I think I'm ready to start here, and I'm going to just very carefully start putting my coil on my base. And as I go around, I want that coil to stay directly over. So I've come now to the part where I'm going to have to go on top of the coil. So I'm going to have to make some more little scoring here. And I might have to get that just a teensy wet. I don't want that to get too wet, or else it's going to slip all over the place, and this coil pot won't stay together. You want it to stay together. Okay, so if you don't get this right on top of each other, it's going to look a little bit wonky. Wonky is whenever it doesn't look up straight up and down like a cup, and it starts either going out like a V or it starts caving in, or maybe it just looks all topsy-turvy. I want it to go straight up like a cup, okay? We are making cupcakes, and cupcake bases are straight up and down. So I am just following this along. When I realize my slipping and scoring is no longer there, I'm going to put some more scoring and maybe a little more slipping. And I'm going to continue this process until my coil is done and I have to make another coil. Okay, so that is about as high as I want to get my cupcake holder. I don't want to add any more coils, and so that looks about right. So for the top of my cupcake holder, if you look at this, it's like a dome shape. I didn't use the coil making process to make the top of my lid. I use something called a pinch pot process. So to do this, you need to take some of this extra clay here, and I'm going to roll this into a smooth ball. You want this ball to be just a little bit smaller than your lid, you want your lid to be. Okay, so when I have about the shape that I want, I'm going to go to the bottom of it and I'm going to just push my thumb right in there. Okay, and then I'm going to start pushing the edges out. I don't want them to get too thin, okay? I want them to be about, my edges to be just a little bit thinner than my pinky. Just a little bit thinner than that. If you get them too thin, your lid is going to collapse in the drying process and you won't have a lid. So be sure that you don't push it too thin. Also be sure that you keep that dome shape. If you get it flat, if you make a flat lid, it's not gonna look like a cupcake. It's gonna look like more of just a flat shape lid. Okay? So see how I'm turning it in a circle to keep that circular dome shape? Just like that. See, it's just a little bit thinner than my pinky. I'm going to test it out. I don't want to sit it on my bottom base because then it'll kind of stick and maybe rip my, and I'm going to make my cherry. So I'm going to take some of this off, and I want it to be the right size for a cherry on here. So you have to slip and score your cherry. If you don't, it'll come off. So I'm going to put some scoring on there, some scoring on the bottom of my cherry, get it just a tiny bit wet, and I'm going to stick it right on there. Okay, and if you want to put your stem on there, you can put a little hole and make a little stem, stick it right in that little pencil hole and kind of squeeze that together. All right, and look, we have our cupcake done. Now, I don't want to put that on there to dry. I want to leave these separate to dry. I'm going to put my name, my initials. My initials are CC. Yours are different. You want to put your initials. Don't carve too hard or you'll go through the base of your coil pot, and your teacher code on there, and put your initials on the bottom of your lid as well. And when I come around to collect these, be sure that those go together so that they don't get separated. Have fun, guys. This is so fun, but you have to follow directions so that these turn out right.